Okay, he's putting the AirPod outside of the bathroom so we don't got to hear him pissing while I'm reviewing music over here. Thank you for doing that, Trent. You're the man. So let me tell y'all why we're reviewing this album. Let me tell you why we're even talking about this album. And it's because, you know, we know some people. We have some friends in the music business. And one of those really good friends, he goes by Smythe, Spencer, Smithers, Spinach. We, long story short, we got some mega Aesop Rock fans that also listen to this podcast. And so, we get kind of a bad rep for hating on Aesop Rock. And I think that mostly comes from Trent because, Trent be kind of like doing Aesop Rock dirty with how he talks about him sometimes. I mean, me personally, I'm a little bit more like, it's just not my cup of tea. It's like, I just never listened to a project. But Trent's the one that's like, I mean, recall, he did say a couple weeks ago, if I had to choose between listening to this Clipping album and anything else, I would choose anything else. So with that in mind, we know how Trent can get down with some of these artists that, like he's got a bad rap with, right?
Have a bad rap with Aesop Rock.
No, dude, we heard you. No, dude. Don't try to play like we didn't hear that you have beef with Clipping. I heard they had beef with what you had to say about the. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't fuck with Clipping.
But yeah. So Spencer, he's been hitting us up about listening to Aesop Rock basically since we started this podcast. Yeah, whether it was the Malibu Ken album or any of his past albums, like The Impossible Kid or what's that? Labor Days. Labor Days is like his other classic. And if I'm being entirely honest, Trent, this is the first time I've listened to an entire Aesop Rock album. I can't say I've given another album a full. Actually, that's not true. I've listened to his very first album before, like front to back. But that was once, and
I listened to None Shall Pass because that has None Shall Pass on it, which was like the only song that I ever was like, oh, this is fire. But that was in like 8th grade, so I don't know if it counts. And then since then, I listened to Malibu Ken because old Smythe just would not leave me alone.
Yeah.
I got peer pressured into Aesop Rock.
We did get peer pressured into the Aesop Rock review. No, just because I knew it was coming. I was like, we got to do it,
right.
or like it's just gonna cause a rift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a few months ago, I just randomly decided to listen to Aesop Rock's first ever album just to hear what he sounds like 20 years ago. The album's called Float. Again, 20 years ago in the year 2000, and I mean, from what I remember, he's kind of like the same dude. Like he kind of has like the same rapping style and like not saying like he has like a stagnant flow, but just like very much like what I'm hearing today. I kind of hear already in this artist from way back at that time. So that's like kind of an impressive thing. I mean, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But moving forward, he's had a lot of different albums with a lot of different concepts to them, but they're all like very left of hip hop. He's a hip hop dude. He's a well-known name in the underground category, but he's kind of always doing something that's almost like anti hip hop in terms of its content, in terms of like, where he's coming from. The beats and the rapping and stuff, I mean, it's all up to snuff with everything else that you would expect, but the content of the albums, it seems very much to go against the grain of what is very typical. So that brings us to this album called Spirit World Field Guide. And I'll be honest with you, besides the fact that I know it's called Spirit World Field Guide, and the beginning of the album sort of tells you that this is a Spirit World Field Guide, I don't really know what this album is about. The album art is
Believe me,
kind of
I don't
horrendous,
mean
isn't it?
Well, okay, here's what I do mean negatively. The album art is fucking trash. I don't care. Like, I think Spencer knows too that we're gonna come out here swinging about the album art. But okay, Aesop Rock, from what I've heard, and I want to tell Smythe, Malibu Ken is actually a really cool album. I actually fuck with it. I like it. It's not long. That's like the main thing. It's only 35 minutes, and so I was like, perfect. I totally see where the merit is in Aesop Rock, because I myself sometimes, when even listening to this most recent album, I had to pause a track and go back and be like, damn, that was a bar. I don't know what the fuck it meant, but the way he stringed that word, that sentence structure, that cadence together was actually just technically, perfection. And I know that's a lot of the appeal to Aesop Rock. So I'm not totally out on this project just because I was like, oh god, it's long, it's dense, I didn't get it. Like the surface level stuff that you would get from Aesop Rock as a casual listener is totally there, because you're listening to him rap and you're like, holy shit, like this dude can rap. Like, I don't know how else to put it.
We talk
But
about
man,
lyrics from time to time,
right.
and as it being like an important part of what's going on. But you and I actually, we're not really like big lyrics like guys when it comes to hip hop. Like, we really are not. Like, you could just be saying gibberish and whatnot, but as long as
Yeah.
the structure of the verses and the words and how they sit together, and then when you choose your beats and you actually evoke yourself and your personality, like, that's where me and you tend to get really excited about artists. We know that some artists are very lyrical, and we love to hear bars. We love to hear bars that make us think and that make us go back and like, oh, he really said like that and that, or notice a double entendre, or like we appreciate those things. But
Right.
that is Aesop Rock. That is his kit. I mean, pitched up to the point that, like, for me
Right.
and you, it's like, it kind of clips beyond a certain point of what we're really hoping to hear, in terms of like lyrics. It's
And
above and
I
beyond
mean,
that, and
right. And Aesop Rock, it's not even like his rapping is like a punchline. Like, it's not like he's stringing together
right,
all these
right,
words
right.
and hitting you with a crazy punchline. He's obviously like sticking to a theme, and maybe it might even be a story. Again, I don't even know what's going on in this shit,
Yeah, and
but
it's
it
like
might
in
be a
the
story. It might be a fucking Logic type thing where it's like a whole ass like world he's creating and all this, or it's just an idea. But like, it's not like he's like, spitting these crazy bars, and then at the end you're like, "Ooh, shit! Like, that was crazy!" Like,
oh
that's
yeah,
not how
yeah.
it is with Aesop Rock at all. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely a niche thing. You know, he is a very
yeah,
popular artist and has been like kind of just always had this lane carved out for years and years at this point. So, the what I really came down at the end of this feeling like was, this seems like a great album for fans. This seems like an album that if I was already a Aesop Rock fan and someone who liked previous albums of his and have been a fan, that this would be a really great project. Dior Worthy was just saying like, something to the notion of making music for your mega fans, instead of
right.
always just trying to go out and get new fans and always trying to do the next thing and the new thing that somebody else is paying attention to. So I did think, like, at the end of this, I thought, man, if I had been listening to Aesop Rock since 20 years ago and I've just always kind of loved what he offers, this feels like someone who's very, at the top of their game and kind of just like very comfortable in the space that they sit in. And they're just continuing to churn out the projects with a lot of thought and care put into them and all that. But if you're like one of us and this is the first Aesop Rock project you're just gonna like try out in a long time, or you rarely even listen to the guy, there are some very surface level things of value about the music. I mean, again, it's not like the beats are whack. Like, this is an amazing rapper with whack beats.
Yeah.
I liked a few instrumentals on here, and well, no, I liked the instrumentals on here, and there were a few that I even wrote down as being some that I liked quite a bit. Pizza Alley was a single. I like that instrumental a lot. Sleeper Car. There's this stretch from Sleeper Car to 1 to 10 to Attaboy. It's like 2 longer songs and a shorter song that I thought were really good as well. And then the final track on here called The Four Winds, I loved that instrumental as well. So there is some cool beat choices going on in here. But in the end, you know, like I understand what the calling card of this album is, and it's Aesop Rock's voice as being like the central moving piece of every song, because his flow is so dynamic, you know, and he
Mhm.
can just rap constantly throughout songs with that same level of tenacity. Yeah, if this is an artist you're already like, you don't really get fatigued by this guy, you love like you know, you can just listen to song after song after song. I mean, this sounds like a guy again who's at the top of his game. But if you're like one of us and you're just really getting into it, it's overstimulating. It's a
Yeah.
lot to take in all at one time in terms of an album experience. And I even came away from it, like I said, just kind of like, damn, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you what that album was about. You know, like
Right.
I literally could not do that. And so in some ways that's a compliment. You know, it's kind of mystifying. It's kind of above my pay grade, you know, in terms of what I'm really looking for in terms of hip hop. And it's, you know, it's something that I feel like builds on a legacy that has just been going a long time. And for someone to
Mhm.
be as consistent as they are and sound as fine tuned as they do, and still be churning out albums that their fans are clearly very excited about, that is a major success to me. So, kind of a semi-negative, semi-positive review there,
Right.
where like for us, yeah, you know, I don't know, I don't know that I'll be coming back to this a lot to really like get all that stuff that I never got in the first listen. But um, again, I imagine if there was an artist out there like this that was appreciating in terms of talent and ideas the way that Aesop was, I'd be really excited. I'd be sitting here saying like, that's one of the best rappers of all time, because of that level of consistency. It's very hard to do. So I gotta talk to more Aesop people, man. I gotta get more of y'all Aesop folk in my DMs to figure out like what are those albums that y'all love a ton? What are those albums from Aesop that y'all feel like are kind of like the soft ones in the catalog? Like, wow, what was he thinking when he wrote, you know, Skeleton or something like that? I don't know which one of these albums is good or bad or the best or just okay to y'all. So someone explain that to me. I'm sure Trent will hit us up in the DMs. Sorry. I'm sure Spen
Like, well, let me
will
tell
hit
you
us
real
up
quick.
in the group text.